Call back to order at 11:21. Our next our next case is Mr. Mark Anthony Jules. Mr. Jules, there, Lieutenant?
Yes, sir. Let me get him.
Yeah.
Mr. Joe.
This is what I need in the next room.
Good morning, Mr. Jules.
Good morning, sir.
Mr. Jules, would you give me your full name and DOC number?
Mark Jules, 314384.
Thank you, Mr. Jules. Let me explain our process to you. First, we're going to read information. First, I'm going to read some information into the record, and the board is going to conduct a parole interview with you. At the appropriate time, we will allow the participants who've indicated they wish to speak to have their input. Mr. Randy Myers, who is an assistant district attorney in Jefferson Parish, is here to speak in opposition to your parole. At the end, you'll be allowed to make a brief statement before the board votes. Do you understand our process, sir?
Yes, sir.
This is the matter of Mark Jules, DOC number 314384, date of birth January the 22nd of 1973. He is a fifth class offender. He has a parole eligibility date of October the 11th, 2014, an adjusted good time date of July 25th of 2024, full term date of March 12th of 2025. He is currently serving a 15-year, 11-month, and 19-day sentence on the charges of sexual battery, possession with intent to distribute cocaine after having been adjudicated a habitual offender, and possession of cocaine. Is that all accurate, Mr. Jules?
Yes, sir.
Jules, your case has been assigned to Ms. Bonnie Jackson. Would you please answer any questions she might have?
All right, good morning, Mr. Jules.
Good morning, ma'am.
How are you today?
I'm all right, ma'am.
I want to have a few things I'd like to talk to you about, okay?
Yes, ma'am.
How old are you, Mr. Jules?
I'm 50 years old, ma'am.
And how much time have you actually served on these charges?
It'll be 14 years, June coming, ma'am.
So 13 plus.
Yes, ma'am.
Tell us a little bit, you have two drug charges, a possession of cocaine and a possession with intent to distribute cocaine. When did you become involved in drug use and drug distribution? Tell us a little bit about that history.
Well, when I was like 15 and up to my 20s, I started dipping and dabbing with, drugs. And
So what dibble and dabble and give me some specifics.
or selling them.
All right.
Then I
Since
started
did you start selling? Tell me what.
selling, and then I started using.
And how old were you when you started selling?
Well, I was in my 20s.
And how old were you when you started using?
I was like 15 years old.
And when did you start off using?
Where did I start? I was in Avondale.
What drugs? What drugs?
I started off with marijuana, and then it went from marijuana to crack to heroin and no drinking.
All right. And did you graduate from high school?
No, I didn't graduate from school, man, but I'm currently in GED.
No, I know, we'll get to that, but why didn't you graduate from high school?
I dropped out of school when I made my daughter, and I went to job corps, man.
Okay, so you became a teen father?
Yes, ma'am.
Stop. And how old were you?
I was 17 when my daughter was born.
And what grade were you in when you dropped out?
Well, I dropped out when I was like in the 8th grade.
Well, why did you drop out in the 8th grade?
I was in junior high when I made my daughter.
Wait. So you were in the 8th grade,
Yes, ma'am.
and what grade did you drop out? Okay.
After,
Okay.
all right, evidently I must have failed the 8th grade, so When I went back to school and, you know, my daughter was born and, you know, I had to take care of my daughter, I dropped out of school and went to job corps.
All right,
School.
how long did you, what happened from job corps?
I don't understand what you said.
What happened after you came back from job corps? You went to job,
I started working at Avondale Shipyard. I got a job.
what were you doing there?
I started out as I went to tacking school to be a tacker. I used to be a welder for the contractors.
All right. And about what year was that, do you know?
All I remember, it was in the 90s, man. That's all I can remember. I don't remember the exact years.
And back then, was the pay pretty good for that time?
Yes, ma'am.
So why would you get involved in drug dealing? If you had a good job making good money, what led you to drug dealing?
Guess I was just doing the wrong thing at the wrong time. Wasn't really thinking like I should have been thinking, man. That's all it was. Trying to party and, you know, the party life.
All right, tell me about the sexual battery.
Well, I mean, I pled guilty to it, but
What did you do? What happened?
I was charged with, first I was charged with rape. They broke it down as sexual battery.
I know, I said, but what did you do? What did you,
I carved out to it because I was afraid to go to trial
what, oh, they didn't just come pick you up from your house and say, well, we think we're gonna charge you with rape.
on. All
Obviously,
right,
something happened. So what happened?
when she was coming down the street, we had a brief conversation and I had some pictures. That's why I went to school with her. And once we got into the house or whatever, she wanted some drugs and I didn't have no drugs at the time. And we got into an argument and one thing led to another and I cursed out. I shouldn't have did that. And she hollered rape and told me she was going to tell her neighbors or whatever. And I told the neighbors what happened and they called the police. You know what I'm saying? And I didn't run or nothing. I stayed there and they brought me to jail and booked me on rape. And then later they dropped it to sexual battery.
And, didn't that young lady have some mental challenges?
Yes,
Did she
she
have some
did.
mental health issues?
Yes, she did. I found that out later. Yes, she did. That what they
Oh.
said.
Well, if you went to school with her, you probably knew her, so why would you not know she had mental health issues?
Well, when we went to school, I didn't know I had no knowledge of her having no mental problems, man. I never had knowledge of that until this incident.
You know, Mr. Jules, one of the things that is important for me when I do a parole hearing is the honesty of the person that I'm talking to.
Yes, ma'am, I understand. I am being honest with you. I had no knowledge of her being mental.
You know, according to the report, she was walking down the street. You were standing in front of your house and called out to her. She said she knew you from high school, but hadn't had any association with him since then, but walked over to him. He asked her to come in. And she did. After they walked to a converted garage area, he locked the door and said he wanted some. She said no. He grabbed her by the neck, forced her to the floor where he removed her pants, penetrated her with his fingers while he held her down. And several minutes later, he allowed her to leave. She went to a friend's house and told them what happened. And to say she was found to be somewhat mentally challenged, but had a good understanding of the difference between consensual and non-consensual sex. So that's her statement.
Yes, ma'am.
That's led to your pleading guilty to sexual battery.
Well, That is her story, but she, at first she said something else, and then she said that, and then they broke it down to sexual battery, man. And I went on to plead guilty to it because they ran it together with my drug charge.
Now, let's talk about your supervision history. You have been on, you're a fifth offender. You've had previous periods of supervision, both on probation and parole, and you've been revoked on probation and revoked on parole. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
So why did you have such a hard time being successful on previous periods of supervision?
Well, a drug problem.
Did you ever seek any help for your substance abuse problem?
When it was, yeah, I did it since I've been incarcerated, but when I was on the street.
Oh.
When I was on the street about to go to treatment, I wound up getting in trouble and I came back to jail, man.
Just as the moment you were about to go to treatment, this happened.
Yeah, I got a parole violation.
Ever as a condition of your probation or parole, been ordered by a court to undergo substance abuse treatment? And when you placed on probation the first time, probably for that possession of cocaine, the court didn't order you to get substance abuse treatment?
Oh, man. I don't remember. I can't just say yes or no. I don't remember, man. It was too long ago.
Because I was a judge for 28 years, and it's very rare for a court not to order substance abuse treatment for somebody who pleads guilty to a substance abuse possession charge. And that's just kind of stupid. Everybody does that.
But, well, I don't remember, man.
Perhaps one of the reasons you got revoked is because you didn't follow through on substance abuse treatment. You agree with that?
You're talking about the probation, right?
Probation, parole, whatever period of
Yeah,
supervision.
I really don't remember,
man. Tell me about sex offender treatment. Have you taken sex offender treatment?
Yeah, I graduated the Steve Harvey program, all 4 phases for the sex offense.
When was that?
That was earlier, a couple of years ago. I got all 4 phases at the jail Menden, value dossier.
Well, the reason I ask is your records show that you had not completed all 4 phases of sex offender treatment.
Yeah,
Do you remember about when you finished your sex offender treatment?
I have the certificate, excuse me, in my property, but they didn't give me none of my certificates when I came here. I only have one that I completed here.
Okay. And what program have you completed where you are?
This is the MRT. The MRT, reentry MRT program.
And what did you get out of that? Not a certificate. I don't care about the certificate. I'm asking you, did you learn from that? What are you applying from that?
Well, basically, it was human resources about, us getting ourselves together before re-entering society. You know what I'm saying? Thinking and making, positive choices, being with positive people, staying away from negativity, things of that sort. So it's definitely, things for me to apply myself to other than, doing negative things.
Whenever you're released, what would be your transition plan?
Well, if I was to be granted parole, I would definitely surround myself with my nephews, and, until I'm able to hopefully get me a job, because I don't really have, my mom and my dad and a lot of people passed in my family, so I only have an aunt and a couple of nephews that, as far as my adequate support, but I'm more just, they would help me to get a job and, I would surround myself with them, and other than, the other life that I lived and known to live, you know what I'm saying?
How old are these nephews?
Yeah, and then they forties. My auntie should be in her 60s, but then they forties. My nephew have his own business, and my other nephew, he lives in Avondale, and he gets a check, and he works and he get a check.
Okay. All right, they just gave me the printout from your programs. And it just says sex offender treatment phase 1 and sex offender treatment phase 2. And you completed those in 2020.
Yes, ma'am.
But I don't see anything recent, and I don't see any indication that you have done phases 3 and 4.
Yeah, that was the whole, the program was for phase 1 through 3, but 4 was a bonus for me to get, by me having a sex charge and a drug charge, I was able to get good time. So that was the reason for me taking all 4 phases, and that's how I got the good time that I got from completing that program. And then I got shipped to Claiborne shortly after that, and I took up Moss 1, the substance abuse drug class. I also got a certificate for that. And then,
I can only go by the official transcript.
Yes, ma'am.
See, and
Yes,
it's you get pre-release phase 1 and phase 2, and you finished that in 20. You didn't complete that. Are you in pre-release?
I don't understand what you said, ma'am.
Did you do pre-release?
No, ma'am.
Okay, and it says Bossier sex offender treatment phase 1. You finished that in November of 2020. Phase 2, you finished that in November of 2020. I don't see any listing for phase 3 or phase 4. I'm just going by the official transcript.
I understand what you're saying, ma'am, and I don't understand why they don't have it, but I have it in black and white in my property. I just don't have it with me in my possession. But I took 1 through 4. I graduated 1 through 4.
Then tell what did you get out of that? What did you learn in sex offender treatment?
I learned about the 25 risk factors.
Okay,
What to stay away from, what to look for, what to avoid, what type of people not to go around, what type of areas to stay around, and all.
well, what did you learn about the type of people who commit sex offenses? What did you learn about people who commit sex offenses?
People that commit sex offenders or whatever, more or less like I did, that's the people that I'm supposed to stay away from. And if I go to thinking or having any type of thoughts of doing something, I'm supposed to go around somebody that's positive immediately.
Did you learn anything about why you might have those kind of thoughts to begin with?
Well, I'm not trying to, say anything out of the ordinary, to make y'all think I'm not being honest, man. I took the convictions because I didn't want to go to trial. I'm not saying nobody, made me do anything, but I didn't want to go to trial, and I went on and took the charge and got it out the way.
All right, but you brought some other certificates with you, didn't you? Don't you have certificates with you in front of you right now?
Yes, ma'am, I have the,
Why bring your sex offender treatment?
say that again, excuse me?
Why didn't you bring the certificate for completion of your sex offender?
Because they have it in my property and I don't have it in my possession. They never gave it to me, ma'am. That's what I just tried to tell you, that the rest of my certificates are in my property of where they got it put up. I don't have none of my paperwork, but this one here, this is the last one I just completed. That's the only one I have, ma'am, in my possession. That's why I can't show you the paper that's saying I took all 4 phases, because it's on that piece of paper. And I don't understand why it's not in front of you, because it really was supposed to be in front of you also.
Well, again, if it's in your property and nobody from, classification or whoever does the record got it, then I guess that's why it's not on your.
No, they got it in my property. They didn't give us our paperwork when we came here, because that was the part of the law or whatever. It's a part of their protocol or whatever. I don't know why they didn't give me my paper, but all my paperwork is in is up front. You see what I'm saying?
I see what you're saying, but again, I don't understand if you had a certificate of completion for all 4 phases in your property, why it would not be on the master.
They took, I can't explain that one. I don't know why they don't have it on there. But I know I got the paperwork saying all 4 phases is on there with the paperwork I got. That's what I don't understand, why you don't have it, man.
All right, well, that's all I have, Mr. Jules.
Yes.
Oh, I do have one question. When Ms. Jackson asked you about the outfit, you said that when a young lady was walking by, y'all both recognized each other from high school. And you
Yes.
said you wanted to show her some pictures. What pictures did you have to show her?
We had it's like this piece of paper with a whole bunch of pictures when we went to school with all us on there. And I had just came home and we was talking about school and stuff like that. And I told her I wanted to show her the picture. But once I went inside to get the pictures and all that, she switched the conversation to drugs. And I'm like, I don't have any drugs right now. And it turned into a conflict and I cursed out, and it went from one thing to another thing. And I wound up coming to jail for rape, and it broke it down to sexual battery. I took a picture.
Oh, it was just like it was just some pictures you had ran across from high school that you wanted to show.
Yeah, yes, ma'am, because we was in the process of losing the house, so a lot of stuff was scattered everywhere, you know what I'm saying? But I remember looking at the pictures and I just wanted to show it, but I never really had no knowledge of her being mental, period, you know what I'm saying, until the incident, with me coming to jail for this charge. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't like a known fact that she was mental or whatever, and me trying to take advantage of.
That's fine. I was just curious as to what pictures you called over.
It started out with a little picture thing, but it wound up, behind some drugs or whatever.
That what it wound up. Yeah, we know. Thank you, sir. Thank you for answering my question. That's all I had, Jim.
Thank you very much. Now we'll hear from Mr. Meyer.
I didn't hear you, sir.
Good morning, Randy Meyer, Assistant DA Jefferson Parish, and we're opposed to Mr. Jules' request for parole. He was arrested less than a month after his release on parole and has a very poor supervision record. He's had limited programming, and I won't get into the whether he's completed 3 or 4 or not of the sex offender treatment, but the record does only show 2. He has a moderate risk assessment, which is something that we don't see too often. Most, I see a lot of them that are low risk assessments, and I wonder how they get low risk assessments. And when I see a moderate risk assessment, I think that's pretty significant. I think he clearly needs some long-term substance abuse treatment. He's got a long history of substance abuse. Those reasons we're opposed.
Thank you, Mr. Meyer. Mr. Jules, is there anything you'd like to say to the board before we vote?
Well, I would just like to say, if I'm not granted parole, could I be granted to go to some type of, work release or whatever? Granted, before released on before my release, before I enter society, so I can have some type of financial stability to help myself, whether it is just going home, to really to nothing, because I really I don't, I don't have nothing. You know what I'm saying, for us to go home to but a couple of families, and I've been gone a long time, so I really have to start all over. And it's really hard out there from what I see off from the news and what I hear, you know what I'm saying? I'm just asking, could y'all take that in consideration? You know what I'm saying? That's all I have to say.
Thank you, Mr. Jules. Appreciate it. Ms. Panel ready to vote?
I am, yes. Mr. Jules, you have a poor supervision history. You're a fifth offender, you have a moderate risk score, and all of those things speak against an early release. But I do hear what you say about needing some sort of transition from prison back into the real world, a job. Do they have work release where you are?
I believe so, ma'am.
Are sex offenders eligible for work release?
I don't know, ma'am. That's something I would have to ask them.
I don't know that you would be. What do you think, Ms. Moore?
Sometimes they are. Sometimes.
It's very, like, as far as like where they help is real. It's like they have different stipulations.
Right, there, you can't be within certain distances of certain kind of places. And so it'd probably be difficult for you to find a work release program that would fit all of the restrictions that you would have as a sex offender. So I don't think it's feasible really to be able to fit you into one of those programs.
Yes, ma'am.
But that doesn't stop you from asking the facility and requesting it. But I don't want to make that a condition because you might not be able to get into it anyway with all the sex offender restrictions. But Mr. Jules, I know you've been in prison a long time and you have a little over a year left on this sentence. I hear what you say about having completed all 4 phases, and I'm not going to dispute that. One thing I can say is that's not what our record shows. But my vote today is going to be to deny because of your poor supervision history, your offender class, and your moderate risk score. I would urge you to contact the facility that you're in and tell them you're interested in work release and see if that's an option for you, because I do think that would be beneficial. So, but my vote is to deny, but good luck to you.
Thank you. Jackson.
Now, Mr. Jules, it is I think you get to a point in life where you kind of box yourself in and your options are getting fewer and fewer. I want you to keep that in mind as opportunities do come, really grab hold to them and be mindful that some of your options, because of your things are caught up with your criminal history and the nature of your offenses start catching up with you. I hope that's make. But I'm gonna know that as well that you get moved somewhere where you can get some programs. In my vote, I concur with you on that. We do need to do what we can to help you have a successful release. But I concur with my colleague. My vote is to deny it as well for the reasons already stated on the record.
Mr. Jules, you have 2 votes to deny your parole. I agree with both Ms. Wise and Ms. Jackson. I hope that you can find that we can get some programs. I don't know with your charge, the work release is going to be very difficult. So good luck to you, sir.
Yes, sir.